Most people never see the real danger coming. Not the flood, not the blackout, not the empty shelves. The danger that ends people in an extended crisis is quieter. It moves through the body like a shadow, slow, invisible, and by the time anyone recognizes it, already irreversible. Here is a truth that should frighten you. By day 5 of a genuine emergency, the majority of households are not failing because the food is gone. The pantry is still stocked. The shelves still have supplies. But something inside the people eating that food has already begun to fail. The mind has gone dark in ways that don't announce themselves. Judgment has started slipping. Physical strength is draining away like water through sand. And none of the food sitting in that pantry, not a single item on the standard emergency checklist, is doing anything to stop it. Most emergency food plans solve exactly one problem: calories. They are engineered for the first 48 hours, when the body is still strong, still cooperative, still capable of processing what you throw at it. But a real crisis doesn't last 48 hours. It stretches, it compounds. And the body, under sustained stress, sleep deprivation, psychological pressure, and irregular nutrition, does not stay cooperative. It degrades. And when it degrades, the very foods designed to sustain it become obstacles the body can no longer overcome. This list exists because of that gap. These are 14 items that address what standard emergency planning refuses to acknowledge. None are expensive, none require special equipment, none appear on any mainstream checklist. And the closer we get to number 1, the darker and more urgent this information becomes. Number 14, oral rehydration salts. Here is something nobody wants to think about until it's happening to them. Dehydration in an emergency rarely looks like thirst. By the time the mouth feels dry and the body craves water, the damage has already begun. The warning signs come earlier, and they masquerade as something else entirely. Confusion, a dull headache that won't lift, muscle weakness that arrives out of nowhere, an inability to concentrate that feels like exhaustion but doesn't respond to rest. In a crisis where physical effort is elevated, where stress hormones are running high, and where clean water may be rationed or limited, the body loses electrolytes at a rate that plain water cannot replenish. Drinking more water without replacing sodium, potassium, and chloride doesn't solve the problem. It dilutes it, which can actually make the internal imbalance worse. Oral rehydration salts dissolve in water and restore the electrolyte balance the body needs to absorb fluids properly. A sachet, a glass of water. That's the entire preparation requirement. Without them, a household rationing clean water in a heat event or working through physical labor under stress is not just dehydrated. It is silently deteriorating in ways that look like stress and exhaustion, while the actual cause compounds unchecked underground. Stock them. Store them with the water, not with the food. They belong together. Number 13, activated charcoal. This one sits in a category most emergency planners never open. Food safety. In a crisis, refrigeration fails. Cooking conditions become imprecise. Food handling degrades under stress and unfamiliarity. And what happens when someone eats something that is already turned? In normal life, there's a hospital, there's a pharmacy, there's medical infrastructure that catches the problem and fixes it. In an extended emergency, there may be none of that. Activated charcoal, kept sealed in a cool, dark location, is one of the oldest and most effective interventions for mild to moderate gastrointestinal poisoning. It binds to toxins in the digestive tract before they can be fully absorbed into the bloodstream, reducing the severity and duration of the illness. This is not a medication to use casually, but in a scenario where someone has consumed spoiled food and help is hours or days away, the alternative, doing nothing, carries consequences that compound fast. Vomiting and diarrhea in a situation where clean water and electrolytes are already strained can escalate to genuine danger within 24 hours. A bottle of activated charcoal capsules costs almost nothing. It takes almost no space, and it addresses a failure point that becomes statistically likely the moment food safety infrastructure disappears. Most households never think about it. Most households also don't think about what happens when someone gets sick in week 2 and there's nothing to give them. Number 12, potato flakes. Here is the pattern that repeats in every serious crisis without exception. The first week, people eat. The second week, eating becomes an effort. The third week, the body starts actively working against the food being given to it. Whole grains require real chewing effort. Dense legumes, the backbone of most emergency stockpiles, become a genuine digestive burden when the gut is already operating under stress. The high-fiber foods that look responsible on a checklist become obstacles when the body's digestive capacity has been worn down by poor sleep, irregular meals, and sustained cortisol elevation. That is the moment potato flakes become something no amount of careful stockpile planning can replicate. No chewing, no digestive strain, no electricity, hot water. That's the entire preparation. They add body to thin broth. They thicken watery porridge into something the stomach can actually hold. And they deliver calories at the exact point in a crisis when nearly every other option has become too much effort for a compromised body to manage. Nobody stores them because they seem impressive. They store them because there is a specific phase in every extended crisis, usually arriving around the end of week 2, when the body stops cooperating with the rest of the pantry. Potato flakes do not ask for cooperation. They simply deliver. 3 canisters, light, cheap, compact. Their value does not reveal itself on day 1. It reveals itself the day the body refuses everything else. Number 11, full-fat canned coconut milk. By day 4 of eating primarily rice, pasta, and dried beans, something happens that no checklist prepares people for. The food is still there. There is no shortage. But eating has started to feel like punishment. Everything is dry. Everything is separate. Every meal lands in the mouth with the same texture, the same absence of cohesion, the same joyless uniformity that slowly converts eating from relief into something the nervous system begins to resist. And when eating becomes something to endure rather than something to consume, people begin eating less than they need. Not by decision, not by discipline, by resistance. That caloric shortfall begins silently and compounds fast. Full-fat canned coconut milk addresses this at the most fundamental level. Stirred into hot rice, the texture of the entire meal shifts. Smooth, cohesive, easier to finish. That matters in ways that don't register until you're already in it. But beyond texture, the fat in coconut milk directly enables absorption of fat-soluble nutrients from everything else being consumed. Without adequate dietary fat, those nutrients, from vegetables, proteins, spices, pass through without being used. The body gets the calories, it misses the nutrition. Fat also slows digestion, extending stable energy across a longer window than carbohydrates alone can provide. No refrigeration until open, no cooking required. Stock the full-fat version specifically. The reduced fat versions do not deliver the same physiological benefit. In a prolonged situation, that difference is not minor. It is compounding. Number 10, dried seaweed. Give this one the attention it rarely gets. There is a distinction that emergency food planning almost universally ignores, and that ignorance is exactly how a well-stocked household ends up watching its members deteriorate despite having enough food. Calories resolve hunger, minerals resolve function. These are entirely separate problems, and standard stockpiles solve the first one while leaving the second completely unaddressed. Rice, pasta, dried beans, flour. These are energy sources. They are not mineral sources. They provide no meaningful iodine, the element the thyroid requires to regulate metabolism, body temperature, and hormonal function. They do not supply the magnesium necessary for stable heart rhythm, proper muscle contraction, and sustained cognitive clarity. The absence doesn't arrive as a dramatic symptom. It accumulates. Energy that feels low no matter how much food is consumed. Concentration that fragments and slips at exactly the moments that demand it most. A heart rhythm that feels slightly irregular. Physical capacity declining in ways that get blamed on stress when the real cause is a mineral deficit building for weeks unchecked. Dried seaweed, nori, wakame, closes that gap in a form that requires almost nothing to use. A small piece stirred into rice, a portion added to broth. Iodine, magnesium, and trace minerals in concentrations unavailable in any other shelf-stable emergency food source. It doesn't fill you. It makes everything else you are eating actually function inside the body. That is a different category of importance entirely. If this information is reaching you in a way that most emergency content doesn't, because it goes into what the body actually experiences, not just what the pantry looks like. Hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe. The next items are where this list stops being surprising and starts being alarming. Number 9, instant noodles. This item does not belong on this list for the reason most people assume. It is not here because of caloric density. It is not here because of shelf life or preparation speed. It is here because of the most underestimated threat in any extended crisis. one that develops not in the pantry, but in the psychology of every person depending on it. Morale collapse. When the same meal repeats day after day without variation, something shifts inside the household. It does not arrive dramatically, it builds. Irritability deepens. Small disagreements sharpen into genuine conflict. Children become harder to manage. Adults begin leaving food on the plate not because they are full, but because the body's willingness to engage with the same sensory input again has quietly extinguished. And that psychological erosion is not separate from physical deterioration. It drives it. Impaired morale produces worse decisions, worse resource management. A household begins breaking down behaviorally before it runs out of anything. One block of instant noodles does something that rice and beans structurally cannot. It smells different. It cooks differently. It has a texture the brain hasn't received in days. That difference is enough for the nervous system to register a genuine interruption of the loop, a small reset, a moment of something that resembles normal. In a group, that effect multiplies. A shared meal that feels meaningfully different from the previous 6 reduces conflict and restores a degree of perceived normalcy. That is not sentiment. It is a stabilizing function with measurable consequences. Stock variety, different flavors, different formats. The benefit requires genuine variation, not the perception of it. Number 8, textured vegetable protein. Here is the failure inside almost every emergency food plan, and it does not become visible until the damage is already running. Most stockpiles are built on carbohydrates: rice, pasta, oats, flour. They store well, prepare simply, and fill a plate convincingly. In the first week, this is adequate. By the end of week 2, without sufficient protein, something measurable and frightening begins to happen. The body does not wait for protein to arrive. When intake stays consistently low, it begins dismantling its own muscle tissue to extract the amino acids it requires for basic physiological function. That process is not dramatic when it starts. It is quiet. A subtle decline in strength, slower recovery from even light physical activity, a fragility in the body's responses that compounds with every passing day. For anyone over 40, this deterioration accelerates at a rate most people are genuinely unprepared for. Textured vegetable protein, rehydrated in hot water for 5 to 10 minutes, develops a texture that resembles ground meat closely enough to shift the psychological experience of a meal significantly. That matters beyond the nutrition. A meal that feels like food at the point when psychological resistance to eating is already building keeps people consuming what they need to function. Mix it into rice, add it to broth, combine with ghee or coconut milk, and the satiety improves dramatically. This is not about replacing meat. It is about preventing the silent physical deterioration that follows when the protein gap in a carbohydrate-dominated emergency diet goes unaddressed for 3 weeks. Number 7, nutritional yeast. The symptom arrives slowly. That is exactly what makes it dangerous. After 10 to 14 days of eating primarily from a standard emergency stockpile, rice, pasta, beans, grains, the body is still receiving calories. It is not starving by any conventional measure, but something has gone wrong inside the cognitive machinery, and it is getting worse with each passing day. Mental clarity fragments. Fatigue arrives earlier and stays longer. Decision-making, which matters more during a crisis than at any other time in life, becomes measurably impaired. Most people attribute this to stress. The actual cause is B vitamin depletion. Standard dry staples carry almost no B vitamins. They do not provide B12. They do not offer a complete amino acid profile. And because the depletion is gradual rather than sudden, most people do not recognize it until it has already been affecting them for days. Days during which every decision, every interaction, every assessment of the situation was operating on a degraded nervous system. Nutritional yeast addresses this directly. A concentrated source of B vitamins, including B12, nearly absent from plant-based emergency diets, and a complete protein profile dry staples cannot provide. A few tablespoons stirred into hot rice, mixed into broth, or combined with oil and salt introduces nutrition the body would otherwise be running entirely without. For anyone unable to rely on eggs, dairy, or meat, whether by choice or by circumstance, this is not an optional addition. It is one of the only shelf-stable mechanisms available for maintaining neurological function on a restricted diet across weeks. Begin using it in week 1, not as a response to symptoms, before symptoms have a chance to develop. Number 6, ghee. In most emergency food frameworks, fat is treated as secondary, optional, nice to have but not essential. This assumption fails. and it fails in ways that become visible inside a week. Standard cooking fats are not designed for crisis conditions. Oils oxidize and turn rancid faster than most people expect, especially in warm or unstable storage environments. Conventional butter softens, develops off odors, and becomes unusable within days of refrigeration loss. When cooking fat disappears, and in an extended emergency, it always does, faster than expected, the consequences begin quietly and build towards something serious. Energy metabolism requires fat in ways that carbohydrates cannot substitute. A body running on rice and beans without adequate fat is processing those foods at reduced efficiency. Strength drops, fatigue deepens. Cognitive performance dulls not from hunger, but from a specific metabolic gap that more starch cannot fill. Ghee behaves entirely differently. Clarified butter with milk solids and water removed offers a smoke point that exceeds regular butter, a shelf life extending months to years beyond conventional fats, and exceptional temperature stability, including in warm conditions that would destroy every alternative. A sealed glass jar requires no refrigeration and remains fully usable through conditions that eliminate every other fat source in the stockpile. A small amount stirred into plain rice converts a meal that sustains basic function into one that delivers genuinely stable, extended energy. The body performs. Fatigue is delayed. Strength holds longer. The difference between a household that degrades and one that holds together often traces back to whether adequate fat remained available in week 3. You are past the halfway point. If this is reconfiguring how you think about emergency preparedness, not just what to store, but what the body actually needs to survive intact. Like this, subscribe, and tell us in the comments which items surprised you most. The next 5 are where this gets genuinely unsettling. Number 5, whole wheat berries. This is the most inconvenient item on this list. It demands more preparation than anything else here, and it becomes irreplaceable at the exact moment everything else runs out. Here is the terrifying structural flaw in almost every emergency stockpile. Every item most people store was already processed by someone else. It was assembled, packaged, and made convenient by infrastructure that exists at a scale no individual household can replicate. While those supplies hold, the system works. But when packaged food runs out, when commercial flour is gone, when convenient dry goods are depleted, most people discover they have been consuming food their entire lives without ever keeping the raw materials from which food is actually made. Whole wheat berries exist outside that vulnerability entirely. They are a true base ingredient. Stored properly, they last for years. And they offer what processed, packaged food fundamentally cannot: genuine optionality. Soak overnight and slow cook. Soft, digestible porridge requiring no equipment. Dry roast and coarsely grind. A warm, textured cereal that changes the experience of breakfast entirely. Grind fine, mix with water and salt, cook flat in a pan. Simple flatbread from nothing but grain, water, and heat. 3 meaningfully different meals from one stored ingredient. Without electricity, without specialized tools, without anything the average household doesn't already own. In a prolonged situation, that ability to choose, to make something different, to exercise some agency over what form a meal takes, carries psychological weight that no other stored item can provide. Keep them in reserve. Do not open them in the first days. They are activated when primary supplies begin to deplete. As long as they remain sealed in storage, the situation has not yet reached its final stage. That matters more than it sounds. Number 4, vinegar. This looks ordinary. In an extended emergency, it functions like 3 separate survival tools sharing one bottle, and almost nobody has enough of it. Function 1, food preservation. When refrigeration ends, which is the default condition in most power outages lasting more than 24 hours, cooked food degrades faster than intuition suggests, especially in warm conditions. A small amount of vinegar added during preparation meaningfully slows bacterial activity without altering the flavor of the food in any detectable way. The window in which a meal remains safe to eat extends. In a situation where every calorie needs to count and recooking depletes fuel, that window matters enormously. Function 2, digestion. Emergency diets are structurally heavy in starches and dense legumes. For many adults, particularly those over 40, eating those foods consistently and exclusively without adequate digestive support produces real physical consequences. Bloating, sluggishness, Gastrointestinal disruption that impairs sleep, concentration, and physical capacity. A teaspoon of vinegar in warm water before eating measurably improves stomach acid production and digestive efficiency. The body processes what it receives rather than struggling against it. Function 3 is the one that reveals itself only when it's already too late to plan for it. When standard cleaning products run out, and in any extended situation, they always do, vinegar becomes a reliable surface sanitizer for countertops, cutting boards, cookware, and knives. Not a perfect substitute for clinical disinfection. Effective enough to prevent the bacterial accumulation that can turn a manageable household disruption into a health emergency. One large bottle, effectively infinite shelf life, minimal cost, disproportionate return. Number 3, chia seeds. There is a phase in every extended crisis that nobody plans for because it feels too psychological to take seriously. The food is still present, the stockpile is not depleted, but the anxiety of uncertain supply has begun operating below the threshold of rational thought, and it is driving behavior that is actively destroying the household's chances. Portions grow without conscious decision. Eating accelerates. The urgency of potential scarcity, not actual scarcity, but imagined scarcity, makes it impossible to stop. And the supply that should have lasted 30 days begins depleting on a trajectory toward 14. Not because there was not enough, because fear consumed it ahead of schedule. Willpower does not fix this. The physiological drive created by sustained anxiety and hunger signaling is stronger than conscious decision-making. It needs to be interrupted at the source. Chia seeds do this. Mixed with liquid, they absorb water and form a gel in the stomach that slows digestion substantially. The body's genuine satiety signal, the physical sensation that communicates fullness, extends for several hours beyond what the actual caloric intake would normally produce. The result is not simply caloric conservation, though it does have that effect. It is cognitive. When the physical urgency of hunger is dampened, the panic-driven overconsumption fades. Rational decision-making about portions returns. The stockpile survives longer not through discipline, but because the physiological pressure that was destroying it has been reduced. In warm conditions, where fluid balance is already compromised, chia seeds also hydrate from within, absorbing water in the digestive tract and extending the body's usable hydration window. One rule that must not be ignored: never consume them dry. Always hydrate in liquid first, in any liquid available: water, porridge, coconut milk, powdered milk. No heat required, no equipment. Begin using them before the anxiety loop develops, not as a response to it. Number 2, seasoning cubes. Around day 3 of eating the same food, something happens inside the human nervous system that emergency planners consistently underestimate. The calories are there, the food is available, but the brain has begun refusing to cooperate. It is not hunger, it is resistance. Plain rice again, the same beans, the same absence of anything the senses register as a meal worth sitting down for. And that resistance, low-grade, persistent, building every single day, does not stay psychological. It becomes physical. Loss of appetite in a crisis accelerates physical deterioration faster than almost any other single factor. It impairs judgment. In a household, it compounds into conflict, resentment, and functional breakdown at a pace that leaves most people blindsided. One seasoning cube dissolved in cooking water changes the entire sensory landscape of a meal. The smell shifts, the taste changes. The brain that has been receiving identical input at every meal for 3 days registers something genuinely new. That registration is a reset, small, real, and powerful enough to interrupt the loop before it breaks the household. But the role of seasoning cubes extends beyond morale management. Under sustained physical stress, heat, and activity, the body depletes electrolytes at a rate that plain water cannot address. A warm, lightly salted broth from a single cube is one of the most efficient electrolyte delivery mechanisms available in an emergency context. Easier for a depleted body to absorb than solid food. Easier to consume than plain water when appetite has already collapsed. The nighttime muscle cramps that appear in week 2. The persistent fatigue that will not respond to sleep. These are frequently not calorie problems. They are electrolyte problems. Invisible, cumulative, and entirely addressable with something that costs less than $1 and fits in a pocket. Remove cubes from cardboard packaging. Store in a sealed glass jar with a moisture absorber. No refrigeration required, almost no space. Consistently overlooked. right up until the mind refuses to eat without it. 3 items down. If you've made it this far, and this list is changing how you think about preparedness, smash like, subscribe, and drop your biggest takeaway in the comments. The final item is the one that genuinely unsettles people because it addresses a breakdown that nothing else on this list can reach. Number 1, ginger. This is the one nobody sees coming, not because the warning signs are subtle, because they arrive wearing a disguise so convincing that almost every person mistakes them for something else until it is too late to intervene. Partway through an extended crisis, after days of fractured sleep, erratic meals, relentless physical and psychological pressure, a specific constellation of symptoms begins to surface. Dizziness upon standing, a dull, persistent pressure behind the eyes that no amount of water or rest relieves, cold hands and feet that refuse to warm regardless of ambient temperature, a deep, shaking weakness that makes even minimal physical activity feel dangerous. Most people respond by eating more. It does not work, because the body at that point is not short on calories, it is short on circulatory and digestive stability. This is the accumulated weight of sustained physiological stress on the body's regulatory systems, blood pressure, digestion, circulation, being asked to operate indefinitely under conditions they were not designed to handle. And adding more dense, starchy food on top of a digestive system already struggling to process what it has been given does not help. It can actively make it worse. This is what ginger is in an emergency stockpile. Not a flavoring, not a comfort ingredient, a functional intervention, and the only one capable of addressing this specific category of breakdown. The active compounds in ginger produce a well-documented warming effect on the circulatory system. They stimulate blood flow. They support the mild pressure stabilization that reduces dizziness, eases the pressure behind the eyes, and returns warmth to extremities that have gone cold under vascular constriction caused by sustained stress. The effect is not sharp or stimulant-like. It builds over 15 to 20 minutes, a slow, spreading warmth as the circulatory system begins to respond. Ginger also supports digestion under exactly the conditions a crisis creates and sustains. It reduces nausea, it decreases bloating, it improves how efficiently the stomach processes food, which means the body extracts more usable nutrition from every other item in the stockpile. When every meal needs to count, that improvement in absorption efficiency is not marginal. It is the difference between a body that holds together and one that quietly falls apart. Dried slices, powdered ginger, fresh ginger dried at home. All forms work, brewed in hot water with a pinch of salt, stirred into porridge, mixed into broth. A small amount produces a response that begins to register within minutes and deepens across the following hour. Here is why it earns the top position above every other item on this list. Every other item addresses a specific, identifiable gap, a mineral deficiency, a protein shortfall, a caloric problem, a morale issue, an electrolyte imbalance. Ginger addresses something that sits beneath all of those, a specific cumulative physical deterioration, quiet, systemic, and deeply easy to misread as general fatigue, that additional calories cannot reverse, that rest cannot fix, and that worsens with every passing day it goes unaddressed. By the time the dizziness arrives, by the time the hands go cold and the weakness makes standing feel like a risk, the window to prevent it has already closed. The body needed the intervention days earlier when the stress was building, but the symptoms had not yet surfaced. Keep ginger in your stockpile. Reach for it before you need it. Not when the dizziness arrives, but before it even has a reason to. The fear behind the list. None of these items are expensive. None require special knowledge or tools. None are difficult to source or prepare, and none of them appear on a standard emergency checklist. That absence is not an accident. It is a reflection of how emergency preparedness has been framed for decades, as a caloric problem, a volume problem, a days of supply problem. As long as the pantry has enough food for 30 days, the thinking goes, the household is prepared. That thinking is incomplete in ways that become frightening fast. It does not account for a body that can no longer digest what is being given. It does not account for mineral depletion that dulls cognition progressively over 2 weeks until the decisions being made are no longer trustworthy. It does not account for protein loss that dismantles muscle mass from the inside while the person eating continues to believe they are nourished. It does not account for the circulatory instability that makes standing up feel like a threat, or the anxiety loop that depletes a stockpile weeks ahead of schedule, or the morale collapse that breaks a household apart before any single item runs out. Those are not rare complications. They are the norm in any disruption that extends past the first week. The households that survive extended emergencies intact are not the ones that stored the highest volume. They are the ones that understood the difference between having enough calories for 30 days and having enough of the right things to sustain full human function, physically, cognitively, psychologically, for 30 days. Those are not the same question. And the distance between them is where most stockpiles, however carefully assembled, quietly fail. You do not need to build this all at once. Start with the items that surprise you most. Add methodically. Build the kind of supply that keeps every person in your household functional, regardless of what comes. The gap between prepared and unprepared is invisible right now. It is invisible in the way that all serious dangers are invisible, until the moment conditions change and the gap becomes immediate, personal, and non-negotiable. Preparation does not eliminate uncertainty. It removes uncertainty's leverage over you. And here's the question we're sitting with. If additional calories cannot reverse the specific circulatory and digestive breakdown that ginger addresses, if there exists a category of physical deterioration that food volume cannot fix, what else in your current stockpile might be solving the wrong problem entirely? Think about that carefully. Drop your answer below. The comments section is where this conversation actually happens. If this changed how you see emergency preparedness, like this, subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear it. The information that actually matters rarely shows up where people are already looking.